The final story that I wanted to get to was who the fuck is Jill Stein and why does she crawl out of the woodwork every 4 years to be a spoiler candidate in the next election? Because man, I'm sick of this woman. This guy, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. I mean, Pekka Kallioniemi. He's great. He does deep dives into all these Russian stooges that are just spreading now Russian propaganda in America and Canada and Europe. And yeah, he did a deep dive on Jill Stein. So I'm just gonna go through the whole thing because I mean, there's no way that I could break it down better than this guy did. So Stein's background is in medicine, and she graduated from Harvard Medical School in 1979. During the 90s, Stein turned to activism and subsequently received various environmental awards for her work. Stein began her political career by running for governor of Massachusetts in 2002, but only got 3.5, this was 0.5, of the total vote. Her following campaigns were also massive failures, and the only election in which she managed to secure a seat was the local legislative body in Lexington, but that didn't stop Jill, as in 2012 she decided to run for president with the Green Party. Her campaign consisted of unrealistic promises of putting 25 million people to work, and she was endorsed by people like Russia-funded Chris Hedges, Code Pink founder Medea Benjamin, and the academic and genocide denier Noam Chomsky. In 2012, Stein received 0.36% of the total vote, which is why she also decided to run again in 2016. This time, she decided on a different strategy. In 2015, she traveled to Moscow to attend the RT 10th anniversary party. While there, she criticized U.S. foreign policy and human rights situations. She was seated together with Vladimir Putin, but somehow failed to remind him that Russian imperialism is bad and Russia should stop annexing and invading sovereign countries. For this, she blamed the language barrier, although Putin speaks English. Unlike Donald Trump, both Hillary Clinton and Jill Stein released their tax returns. Surprisingly, Stein had 8.5 million US dollars invested in funds in the industry she had harshly criticized, including energy, financial, tobacco, pharmaceutical, and defense contractors. Stein ultimately received 1% of the national vote in 2016 election, but she played a significant role in the swing states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. As Trump's victory margin was smaller than Stein's total votes in these key battleground states. Following Trump's victory, Stein spearheaded an effort to recount votes in 3 swing states. The recount was a lost cause, but Stein managed to fundraise $7.3 million for it. In May 2018, only $1 million of the money was spent, and the rest is allegedly stashed somewhere else. I mean, that's the reason that 90% of these presidential candidates that know they're not gonna ever win run. I mean, nobody likes to talk about that, but all that money that you donate to these dipshits, anything that they don't spend during their campaign, they get to keep afterwards. So you're literally just handing over millions of dollars. I mean, like, running for president is one of the most lucrative gigs you guys could ever possibly do. Even if you know for a fact you're not gonna win. That's why she crawls out of the woodwork every 4 years to be a spoiler candidate in an election, because morons that are actually dumb enough to vote for her, or fund her campaign at least, are gonna basically be funding the next 4 years of her life through their donations. Anyway, naturally, the Republicans and Russians knew that a third-party candidate could help Trump grab the presidency. Trump operative Roger Stone had previously used third-party candidates to grab votes from Democrats, and according to 2018 report, the Russians had launched a pro-Stein online campaign promoting Stein and her policies. For example, the employees of Yevgeny Prigozhin-led Troll Factory, internet research agency, tweeted the phrase Jill Stein over 1,000 times during the election. Russians launched pro-Jill Stein social media blitz to help Trump win election, reports say. 2 days before the 2016 presidential election, an Instagram account called @WokeBlacks posted a message in support of long-shot Green Party candidate Jill Stein. The excuse that a lost black vote for Hillary is a Trump win is BS, it said. It could be late, but y'all might want to support Jill Stein instead. According to a report commissioned by the Senate, the account was fake, part of the Russian campaign to sway 2016 presidential election in favor of Donald Trump. Does that sound familiar? During the 2020 election, Jill was hibernating, but she's back in the race for the 2024 presidential elections. According to Stein, her main priorities are being anti-war, supporting universal health care, and pledging to stop genocide in Palestine. On September 16, 2024, Mehdi Hassan interviewed Stein over her policies and presidential bid. In one of the most absurd conversations ever, Hassan asked Stein whether Putin was a war criminal, but she failed to condemn him as one like she did in case of Biden and Netanyahu. Gee, I wonder why. Sure, it has nothing to do with the fact that she's definitely funded by Russia.
And you haven't done that many posts specifically calling out Russian attacks on civilian areas. You haven't called Vladimir Putin a war criminal, but you have called Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
No, actually we did.
Yeah.
In my very first remarks about the Ukraine war, we condemned...
Vladimir Putin's a war criminal in your view.
Yes, we did
and Bashar al-Assad's a war criminal.
Yes, in so many words. Yes, we have said as much. So
you called Netanyahu one, which I think he is.
Oh,
absolutely. But is Putin a war criminal?
So what we said about Putin was that his invasion of Ukraine is criminal. It's a criminal and murderous war.
And he's a war criminal who should be on trial.
Well, by implication.
You're struggling here to say something very simple. This is why people have their doubts about you in Russia.
Well,
why is Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal but not Vladimir Putin?
Well, as John F. Kennedy said, we must not be afraid to, we must not negotiate out of fear, and we must not fear to negotiate. So if you want to be an effective world leader, you don't start by name-calling and hurling epithets.
So how will President Stein negotiate with Israel then if you've called Netanyahu a war criminal?
Well, because he very clearly is a war
criminal. So Putin
criminal.
clearly isn't a war criminal.
Well, we don't have a decision, put it this way, by the International Criminal Court.
Yes, we do.
Yes, actually,
actually you're wrong. There's an arrest warrant for Putin. There isn't yet an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. So why is Putin not a war criminal, but Netanyahu is?
Yeah.
I think they both are.
Let me say this. We are sponsoring that war. We are sponsoring Netanyahu.
That's our war.
He is our dog in this fight. That is why we have a responsibility.
No disagreement from me at all. But that does not answer my question.
With Russia, it's
whether
far
we sponsor
more
them or not is irrelevant. Either you're a war criminal or you're not. Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
In so many words, yes, he is.
I don't know what so many words are. Butch, is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Let me say that whatever you think he is, if you want to pull him back...
It doesn't matter what I think. I'm asking what you think. You're running for president.
If you are a world leader, you don't begin your conversation by calling someone a war criminal unless
So why have you called Biden and Netanyahu war criminals?
Because we have a clear strategy and we have a very strong support across
Is Bashar al-Assad and Vladimir Putin war criminals in your view?
In addition, Jill's promoting the main Russian narratives about the war in Ukraine. He's repeating the lie about NATO agreeing to not move 1 inch to the east, spread the lie about the U.S. fomenting a coup where ultranationalists and ex-Nazis came to power. Stein, we should encourage Ukraine to be neutral. We helped foment a coup against a democratically elected government, resulting in a government where ultra-nationalists and I can't see behind the arrow, I'm assuming Nazis came to power. Imagine the inverse if Russia did that in Canada, installed a government, which they're literally trying to do right now. I'll do another story on that one later. We saw something like that in Cuban Missile Crisis. That would be acceptable to, yeah, it's just a bunch of fucking Russian propaganda bullshit. When asked about Crimea, Stein stated that these are highly questionable situations and that Russia used to own Ukraine. Yeah, but then the 1994 Budapest Memorandum happened, you ditzy bitch. In the same interview, she repeated her lie about the U.S. orchestrated coup in Ukraine. When asked whether Putin was an incipient despot, she answered, to some extent, yes, but there could be a whole lot worse. Again, blaming NATO and the West for the crisis. We needlessly provoke him and endanger him and surrounding him with war games, neatly forgetting Putin's invasion started with Chechnya in 1999. Stein was also a speaker at the Rage Against the War Machine event, where Vatniks and tankies gathered around to call for the end of aid to Ukraine, bash the US and NATO, and whitewash Russia's war crimes and crimes against humanity in Ukraine. As is tradition, Jill also supported Syria's brutal dictator Bashar al-Assad. In 2016, she deleted a tweet saying that the US should work with Syria, Russia, and Iran to restore all of Syria to control by the Assad government.
Oh no.
You said in November 2015, as Assad and Putin were massacring Syrians in their tens of thousands, quote, The US should be working with Syria, Russia, and Iran to restore all of Syria to control by the government. That's the Assad government.
That was an unapproved statement, which was taken down the moment it was.
You seem to have a lot of things online that you don't approve.
Some, including me, consider her to be a spoiler candidate. Yeah, no a candidate who knows that they have no chance of winning, but who can still affect the vote in battleground states and help the other candidate win. I mean, she did the same thing during the 2016 elections. And she probably thinks that there's probably a better chance of it working now, or she realized how close it was in 2020, and she stayed out in 2020, so she's planning on getting back in there to gum up the works this time. In 2016, the Stein campaign, with the help of the Russians, targeted heavily the African-American population. This time, they seem to be focusing on the Muslim vote in swing states, and a recent CAIR survey indicates that this strategy has been fairly successful. While Stein is considered to be a general laughingstock over here on X, her supporters and promoters are running a relatively successful campaign on platforms with younger audiences like TikTok, where she targets mostly Democratic voters. Jill Stein has absolutely no path to win the presidency, but just like she did in 2016, she can help Donald Trump to win. Trump has relatively low support among the U.S. Muslim community, which is why using Stein to get the votes is a brilliant and cunning strategy. Jill Stein out here liking posts telling people to vote for Trump. I'm not a big account, but please spread this. Dems need to be stopped. Either vote for Trump or... What? Who's tweeting this? Liking... Oh, she liked it. I see. The New Republic's Peter Rothkletz has claimed that Jill Stein is killing the Green Party and that they should ditch the malignant narcissist responsible for its decline, and when you look at her achievements throughout the years, it's hard to disagree. So you gotta watch out for these spoiler candidates, guys, because, I mean, they're out there, and even though you may not be paying attention to them, I mean, apparently somebody is.